Salvete discipuli. All right, we're continuing with the Olympians today. We've already done videos and looked at artwork, and you've already typed up paragraphs and drawn your own versions of Zeus, Poseidon, and also Ares. So today, Hephaestus. His Greek name is Hephaestus. His Roman name is Vulcan. And yes, we do derive the word volcano and vulcanized rubber from this. Okay, Hephaestus is, like Ares, a child of Zeus and Hera, that is Jupiter and Juno. And what's really interesting, and you've probably got this from mythology along the years, if you've had any Greek mythology, is that Zeus and Hera don't have the best marriage. It's kind of one of these unfortunate facts of Greek mythology that the ruler of the universe, the king of the heavens and earth, the king of the gods and men, Zeus, or Jupiter, and his wife, Hera, or Juno, the ruler of the universe, the queen of the universe, the queen of gods and men, are married, but they don't really get along. And they have a couple of children together. One is Ares, who again in the Greek view is this bloodthirsty, killer that isn't really worshipped by too many Greeks. He's kind of a force to be feared. Hephaestus also, there's a problem. That is, there's something wrong with him. And it's, again, this is kind of one of those sad things, is that the way that Greeks viewed disabled people, Hephaestus was born with something wrong with his foot, ankle, or leg. It's different authors have slightly different versions of it, but it generally results in him having a limp. And he can't walk normally. And it's really sad. In many, like in the Iliad, in the end of Book 1, all the gods laugh at him because he can't walk the same way that they can. And other gods can heal when they're injured, but he can't heal himself, and it's never really explained why. And again, it's just kind of sad and unfortunate. So he does find a place, of course, in the Society of the Olympians on Mount Olympus. He is the blacksmith of the gods. He works at the forge. So generally with Hephaestus, first his physical appearance, kind of like Ares, he's going to be kind of in the middle in terms of age range. We haven't done Apollo yet, but when we get to Apollo will always appear as the youngest of the male Olympians, whereas Zeus and Poseidon will appear to be the oldest of them. Ares, as we saw last time, looks younger, although not every artist depicts him that way, as we saw in our slides last time. Hephaestus will look a little bit older. Some artists will depict him as being as old as Zeus or Poseidon, others won't. So we see here something in the middle. Maybe he's in his 30s or 40s, where Zeus and Poseidon look to be really muscular people in their 50s, perhaps. Whereas Apollo will look like he's maybe 16 or 18, and Ares looks like he's maybe in his early 20s. Now again, since he doesn't have the use of one of his legs, that is, he can walk, but he trips over himself, or he has a limp, or he drags his foot. He becomes the blacksmith, as he also has strong arms, and generally will find armor, shields, swords, spears, helmets with him. Maybe he's on an anvil, maybe he's got a hammer. So here's a vase painting of him, and it'll pixelate out a little. Sorry, it's a low resolution version. Here he is in the middle. It does say his name Hephaestus here in Greek. Tough one to spell. He's in the middle here. He will have an axe. The axe is going to be his probably primary weapon of choice or instrument of choice. He'll be involved in a few stories using it, and it's something that he makes at his forge. Here you see him with Dionysus and with Hermes. We have Hephaestus here in the middle. And like we talked about with our vase paintings, frequently there's not much to work with. It's very simple, basic art. And just the axe tells you that this is Hephaestus. Again, it also helps when they just literally write the name. Like, you can tell that's Dionysus because it says Dionysus. You can tell that's Hermes because it says Hermes. But they also have items that'll lead you to be like, oh, that's got to be Hermes because of this thing. That's got to be Dionysus because of this thing. We haven't covered Dionysus or Hermes yet. Okay, so when we see him, generally he is depicted as being hard at work. That is, although the other Olympians make fun of him and laugh at him and generally treat him very, very badly, in fact, both Zeus and Hera, according to a few different authors, have thrown him from Mount Olympus down to the earth in anger or in disgust at him. So generally, anybody that studies mythology really feels sympathetic towards Hephaestus, that it's really just, it's sad how the Olympians behave towards him. Although, of course, the Olympians are not, of course, models of good behavior. They lie, they cheat, they steal, they hurt, they kill mortals, they get into fights with each other, and generally do things that pretty much any society of humans on the planet would consider to be immoral things. Okay, so here he is working hard. You can see him with his hammer up here. You can see he's got, these are tongs. Tongs are things that'll, like, they're like pincers. They'll hold something that's incredibly hot, and so you can hold it by the handle and you don't burn your hands. Here you can see he is working on a lightning bolt. So remember, if you think back to the Titanomachy and the Olympians versus the Titans, the Cyclopes were employed by Zeus to build his weapons. And they did this in exchange for him freeing them from the underworld. Well, they kind of go back into the underworld afterwards, and they're basically, according to most authors, given to Hephaestus as his workers. And so, again, think about his name, Vulcan. We think about volcano. Generally, it's depicted that his workshop is underground in a volcano. And if you think about, like, the way that the Greeks would conceive of this is his forge, his blacksmith shop is so big and it gets so hot that when they're working really hard down there, you'll have a volcanic eruption. And of course, he's working on things like lightning bolts, which the Greeks conceived of as being pure energy, pure fire. Makes sense. And around him, you'll see shields, armor. Frequently, when you get to see the armor, especially the shield or the chest plate that Hephaestus creates for certain gods or certain heroes, there's incredible artwork on it. So in the Iliad and in the Aeneid, there's a lengthy description of armor created for Achilles in the Iliad, or Aeneas in the Aeneid by Vulcan / Hephaestus, and it has like incredible scenes of artwork on it. Here, this is Hephaestus, and this is Apollo appearing to him. You could imagine that these are Cyclopes. Cyclopes are supposed to be giants, right? Well, remember that the gods can change their shape or their size. And remember that each artist depicts things as he or she sees fit. Just like you guys get to do your own versions artistically and in written form. So we'll see all kinds of implements of a blacksmith shop. An anvil is a big piece of metal or stone where you can hammer things that are incredibly hot. Basically, the idea is that metal, when it gets really hot, becomes malleable, and it can be shaped with various tools. And again, the tools are generally long, so you don't burn your hands or melt your hands. So hammer, anvil, tongs, and then lots of pieces of finished armor. And generally, Hephaestus takes orders from the other gods. They don't treat him very nicely. They frequently are giving him a lot of work to do. So here we have Apollo showing up saying, do this, and Hephaestus has to change what he's doing to accommodate the will and the orders of the other gods. We looked at this slide when we did our artwork analysis maybe a few weeks ago. So this is Hephaestus up here. You notice he does look a little bit older in this painting, maybe as old as Zeus or Poseidon. He's not going to look as strong as Zeus or Poseidon. Generally, he'll have muscular arms because, you know, again, he's a blacksmith, so he's generally using them a lot. Here he's creating the chains for Prometheus. You can see some of his tools there. There's tongs, there's a hammer. And again, Prometheus, according to different versions, he did something bad that the gods didn't like. He either gave them fire or he created man, generally against Zeus's wishes, or a couple different versions about Prometheus. But either way, the big important thing is he's being punished. and Hephaestus has been tasked with creating those trains. This is Hermes over here, who we'll talk about in our next video. You can see some of the things that make Hermes easily recognizable. Hermes is the messenger of the gods. There's the vulture that's waiting to, in some versions it's a different type of bird, but either way it's bird, that's going to eat the liver of Prometheus in his eternal punishment. Okay, Hephaestus has temples. Not a lot of them. The island of Lemnos was especially important to the worship of Hephaestus, but this is not Lemnos, this is Athens. Athens, again, is probably the most famous Greek city. Today it's the capital of the Greek country called Greece. It's a major metropolitan city, like 10 million people live there. And underneath the Acropolis, the famous Acropolis, where the Parthenon sits, is a temple of Hephaestus down in the Agora. And the Agora is the open-air marketplace right underneath the Acropolis, which today is a giant archaeological site. We got so many buildings from the ancient world, including the Temple of Hephaestus in Athens. It's called the Hephaestion. And as you can see, it's almost fully intact. And as you can see, it's not really that big compared to some other temples. You know, the Parthenon itself is like 4 times as tall as this. These are people walking around. Here's a guy like mowing the lawn. It's just part of this park, which is an archaeological site. And although parts of the roof have caved in, it is almost fully preserved. And here you see a shot of it looking down from the Acropolis. There it is. You can see parts of the roof are missing. And you can see what I'm saying about how the archaeological site is a really big park. And if you go to the Acropolis, going down to the Agora, it's like within walking distance, like 10, 15-minute walk. And what's really cool about the Temple of Hephaestus is you can walk around it and really get to see what a temple's really like up close. You can't walk into it, but you can walk right up to it. Here you can see part of the roof is, missing, but really, really well preserved. Yeah, that's a really good shot of the side of it. Again, that's the Temple of Hephaestus in Athens. Okay, Hephaestus, also known as Vulcan, son of Zeus and Hera, or Jupiter and Juno. He's the blacksmith of the gods. He makes armor and arms for gods and heroes. More shot there. All right, guys. Walete.